Hello everyone, this is Dr. Mark Henderson here. Welcome to Survey of American Literature 2, English 208. Let's begin the course by discussing a few key ideas that will come up again and again. It will continue and sort of haunt the background of the course in terms of subject matter and themes as we go along. The American Gothic, as well as Dark Romanticism and American Modernism. I believe this will be the first half of the video because this might be longer than the rest. So part 1, very likely. Some quotes pertaining to the American Gothic. Noted critics of the American Gothic are Leslie Fiedler, Alan Lloyd Smith, D.H. Lawrence, Kathy Davidson, among others. Now, Leslie Fiedler, from his Love and Death in the American Novel, says, American literature is bewilderingly and embarrassingly a Gothic fiction, non-realistic and negative, sadist and melodramatic, a literature of darkness and the grotesque in a land of light and affirmation. Don't need that. Charles Brockden Brown, from the preface to his novel Edgar Huntley, says, Puerile superstition and exploded manners, Gothic castles and chimeras are the materials usually employed for this end being the Gothic. The incidents of Indian hostility and the perils of the western wilderness are far more suitable, that is, to the American context, and for a native of America to overlook these would admit of no apology. Therefore, this new country, America, has much newer and more particular fruit for Gothic examination. D.H. Lawrence, who was an Englishman, from his studies in classic American literature, says, and he does so quite flamboyantly, "Oh, it was in a black spirit, a black revulsion from Europe, from the old authority of Europe, from kings and bishops and popes. And more. When you look into it, more. They were black, masterful men." Now here, by black, he means dark, evil. They wanted something else. No kings, no bishops, maybe. Even no God Almighty. But also no more of this new humanity which followed the Renaissance. None of this new liberty which was to be so pretty in Europe. Something grimmer, by no means free and easy. And from the same source, the essential American soul is hard, isolate, stoic, and a killer. An offshoot, so to speak, of the American Gothic, because, well, the original European Gothic arguably sprang from European Romanticism, and therefore, quite fittingly, coexisting with the American Gothic is American Dark Romanticism, which Leslie Fiedler talks about quite a bit. This American Dark Romanticism, to 19th century American authors, the classic American authors of the American Renaissance, who were heavily influenced by English Romanticism and Gothic literature. The most obvious prototypical examples are Edgar Allan Poe, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, and Emily Dickinson, with whom we are beginning this course. There is a relatively less obvious presence of it in their contemporaries, think Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, in some of the later authors that they influenced directly or indirectly, but it is virtually never entirely absent. Romanticism is all about transcending the perceived boundaries of the physical world and society to achieve some revelation which will lead to a greater spiritual and psychological awareness. However, whereas the majority of English Romanticism treats such transcendental experiences as positive and uplifting, the majority of American Dark Romanticism treats those experiences as often negative, disturbing, disillusioning, horrifying. Sites of the American Gothic. All of these fall under westward expansion or manifest destiny, the direction in which this country was settled since The original Europeans landed on the East Coast. The frontier, the wilderness, the city, and old houses, especially later, though still present even before the frontier closed in the late 19th century. Especially important for the 20th century. This, of course, is what replaces the ancient baronial manners of the European Gothic. The social and historical significance of the American Gothic. Race. The Gothic, of course, is a great way of dealing with past sins, and of course, America has very particular past sins. Race, in the form of Indian wars, slavery, immigration, Reconstruction, and the like. Religion, used as a perverse justification for Anglo-centric manifest destiny. White man's burden. We must settle and civilize and convert the savages in the West. The fire and brimstone darkness and guilt of Puritan heritage, and especially the Salem witch trials, in which religious fervor clearly went so out of hand that many innocent people were executed, burned, drowned, hanged. Gender and sexuality, and territorial expansion and urban growth, and those who suffer from it. The American Gothic, then, is a lot closer to home than the European Gothic, more fantastic, with a more fantastic focus. Well, actually, no, it's closer to home than the European Gothic's more fantastic focus on the supernatural. The Gothic is all about the hidden. The hidden meaning the denied, the unspoken, the buried, and the uncanny, to use a Freudian word, return or revelation of what has been hidden or denied, especially historically. The American dream is and always has been especially ripe for Gothic potential and examination. Dream implies an ideal, and ideals by definition are lofty, abstract, whimsical, and naively hopeful. Taking nothing away from American idealism, that is, the American dream, the American Gothic is, in fact, its dark twin, the sobering, self-examining reality check working to keep it honest, so to speak. Now, I used that word for uncanny just now. Central to any study in the Gothic is Freud's concept of the uncanny from his essay of the same name. It refers to fear arising from the familiar, when something long forgotten, suppressed, buried, suddenly rises to the surface to be confronted, faced, acknowledged, dealt with. The key here is repetition of the past and of people, déjà vu and doubling, which complicates identity and calls attention to the oppressive threat of a once thought, done with past. The past, of course, to use that Gothic word, is very haunting. And keep in mind that not all American works are as obviously Gothic as others. The methods and approaches of the Gothic, however, are always there. Okay, and I think this is where I'll end it for part 1.